Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and today we got a very special guest and incredible story. Wow. One that you're going to be fascinated with. Delighted to have with us today Magnus McFarlane-Barrow, the author of a book entitled The Shed That Fed a Million Children. And there's a picture of it on the screen. You can go to marysmeals.org is the website to the organization. But Magnus's story is a fascinating one, as he was a salmon farmer and then all of a sudden turned humanitarian. And how he got from one to the other in itself is just remarkable. So Magnus, hi, nice to see you. Welcome to the program.
Great to be on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, fascinating story. Give us a little bit of your background and how you got moved over into the work you do.
Well, I grew up in a small village in the Highlands of Scotland. As you say, I used to be a salmon farmer. Then one dark, rainy evening back in 1992, my brother and I were having a pint of beer, and we were talking about this news bulletin that we'd seen. It was a report about how people were suffering in Bosnia during the war there at that time. And we just hatched a little plan to try and do something to help the people there. We launched a little appeal asking people for food and clothing. I took 1 week's holiday from work to drive that over there, and then came home thinking it would be back to work as normal. But God had a very different plan, because by the time I got home, I discovered this avalanche of donations that was coming into our home, and that prompted me to pray about it and to think about it a bit. And I gave up my job and sold my house, and somebody gave me a truck, and I began driving that back and forward to Bosnia, and that's how this work was born.
Well, God tricks another one. Well, so why did you sell everything, leave your home in Scotland, and go to Bosnia? What were you called to do there? What did you end up doing there?
Well, it wasn't a massive sacrifice. It was before I was married and had those kinds of responsibilities with children. And I suppose also I didn't understand when I made that decision that it was going to be a lifelong choice. I thought I might do this for some time and then go back to work. But it hasn't worked out that way, because that first story of making an appeal on behalf of people suffering through poverty and being overwhelmed with the scale of the response. In many ways, that's just been our story all these years since. The work's evolved in many different ways, but that's been our experience over and over again all over the world. It's just this kind of wave of human kindness coming towards us that's swept us along. So a lot of this has never been planned by me. It's just happened in an incredible way.
So, how did God get a hold of your heart? I mean, something changed for you to give it all up. What happened?
Well, I would say two things really moved me and led me to make that decision. One was the suffering that I saw in Bosnia, meeting people who had lost everything, and discovering that just those very basic things that we were bringing were so important, were really changing lives. And then the other side was that thing I've mentioned, just that experience of people's goodness and kindness, which really surprised me, and also probably has had as big an impact on me as the suffering I saw in Bosnia. So that's what led me to make that decision. But as I say, God's been very gentle with me. It was just really one small decision at a time. It didn't feel like I was making a massive decision.
All right, let's jump over to Mary's Meals. What is it?
It's a very, very simple mission. We provide one good meal every day in a place of education for the world's poorest children, so that we meet their immediate need for food, but at the same time we serve that meal in a way that enables them to come to school, many of them for the first time, and therefore gain an education that can set them free from poverty.
Where does the food come from and who prepares it?
Well, it's really important to us that this project is as much as possible locally owned. So whenever possible, we source food locally. We buy it from local farmers to support them, to support the local economy. And so, for example, today in Malawi, where we feed over 25% of the primary school age population, all the food that we serve is grown in that country, and that's wonderful. Also, the daily work, all of the daily work is carried out by local volunteers who live in the communities where the meals are served. So they give up their time on an unpaid basis to start early, to light those fires in which we cook the meals. And that's a hugely important part of our model. I believe it's one of the most important reasons why this works, that local ownership.
You write about the idea of Child 31. Fascinating. Tell us about it.
Well, Child 31 is an incredible documentary that's been made about our work. People can view that on our website, and a bit like the book that I've just written, it really tells the story of Mary's Meals through the voices of children and people involved in this mission. Lots of personal stories, and Child 31 is just a beautiful thing. It really, by the time you watch it, you really feel like you've got to know 2 or 3 of those children and have a very new insight into their life and their struggles. It's something very moving and very beautiful. It's not depressing. It's filled with hope as well as a film.
Do you think you'll see a time where those numbers will change?
Well, today, I think around 18,000 children are going to die of related causes today. I think about 57 million children are out of school because of poverty and hunger. Those numbers are changing. They're changing for the better. We are now providing 1 million children with meals every day. Our vision is that every child in the world should be able to receive at least one good meal every day in their place of education, and we absolutely believe that vision is possible. It can be realized. In this world where we grow more than enough food for all of us to eat well. So absolutely, we believe those numbers can change.
Magnus, it's hard for us to wrap our head around, but some have suggested, why even rescue these people? Let nature, so to speak, take its course. Maybe you're just prolonging the problem. I don't know how we wrap our head around that, but you are fighting that, aren't you?
Well, sometimes I encounter that attitude. Not often, thankfully. But yeah, sometimes people would say that we are perhaps creating a problem by bringing those children into schools that are perhaps already overcrowded. Our view is that every child has a right to eat. Every child has a right to education. And we don't want those children to be invisible. By bringing them into the school environment, we're making them visible. I had a wonderful experience just last week in Malawi, visiting a school there that was already overcrowded. We began Mary's Meals, and many new children came, and it was wonderful to go there and to see volunteers from the local community themselves building new classrooms to accommodate those children. So, for me, I find it very hard, like you say, to understand that attitude that we could let children go hungry, or we could accept that some children in this world won't have the opportunity for education. I just don't think that's something that any of us should accept, because it's unnecessary. We can solve this.
A big amen to that. Besides, that's our responsibility as believers. You had a chance to meet Pope Francis. Tell us about that. That's kind of interesting.
Well, that was just an amazing privilege, a huge blessing for my wife and I. We were very unexpectedly invited over to Rome to receive Pope Francis's blessing. Not that long after he became Pope, but he had already become a hero to us, and I know to many millions of others around the world, just very moved by the way that he talks about poverty and what we should all be doing about that, and how we should go about our work with the poor. And it was just an incredible experience to meet him. He's a man who's full of joy, full of the Holy Spirit, I believe.
The Mary's Meals. Now you're expanding. You're actually in other countries, but you're now. Are you feeding 1 million children a day now?
That's right. Every school day, well over 1 million children are eating Mary's Meals. We just celebrated that landmark, reaching the 1 million last week in Malawi, and it was just this incredible celebration in this small school in a very remote area. So it's wonderful, and those children that we feed are spread across 12 countries right now, most of them in Africa, also Haiti, India, and lots of very, very different environments, different cultures, but always that same simple approach: one meal every day in a place of education, and everywhere we see it has the same result. It brings the very poorest children into the classroom.
Well, I tell you, fascinating, Magnus. Your story, your ministry, your work. What an inspiration! If people want to get involved and help you, what should they do?
Well, one of the wonderful things about Mary's Meals is there's just so many different ways that people can get involved. I believe that I don't think there's anyone who can't play a part in this mission. I believe this work is a fruit of prayer, and one thing I would invite people to do is to pray for this work. Obviously, to buy the food, we rely on donations. It costs only $19.50 to feed a child for an entire school year. So that's a very straightforward way for people to help as well. And then another huge way that people help is finding ways to raise awareness, to just tell their friends about this mission of ours, to tell people about the book or about the film. And there's lots and lots of information on our website. So if people just go to marysmealsusa.org, they can find out lots more information about our work and about how to get involved.
All right, that's marysmeals.org. Well, Magnus, thank you for your time, and God bless you, my friend, for your work. Keep it up, and let's stay in touch. And I can't help but think God is going to probably just explode this worldwide as you've taken that walk of faith.
Well, please God, it grows. There's a lot of children still waiting. So thank you so much for having me on your show. Really enjoyed it.
All right, blessings to you. All right, we'll be right back.